Max Verstappen and Toto Wolff's private aircraft were spotted in Sardinia as the explosive dumping of Christian Horner at Red Bull rocks the F1 universe. The timing? Too bloody good to be true. This explosive news only adds fuel to the wild speculation that the Dutch star will join the Silver Arrows from 2026 onwards, with some very intriguing negotiations reportedly in progress in Italy. But here's the real question. Can Max truly commit to this seismic move and finally bring an end to this long-running saga? And if he does, who exactly would he replace at the Brackley-based squad? We've now reached a point where this is no longer idle speculation. Verstappen and Wolff are already discussing their future together at Mercedes, as early as 2026. At one point, this kind of deal appeared to be wishful thinking. Everyone believed Max would never leave Red Bull. But the landscape changed a great deal. Christian Horner's leaving is more than a news item. It's the missing piece in this jigsaw. And even though most took the choice to be taken to make Max content in the Red Bull squad, the fact may well prove to be the contrary. Toto Wolff has never been lacking his appreciation of Verstappen. Even as he makes assertions of being satisfied with George Russell and Andrea Kimi Antonelli as his future crop for 2026, let's get real here. Who would turn down the choice to sign a four-time world champion like Max? At this time, the stars have never aligned better. Horner has departed. Red Bull's team pecking order is fractured. And to be honest, who within that company can really convince Max that it's in his best interest to stay? In Verstappen's mind, the future at Milton Keynes has never seemed less secure. If you're Toto Wolff, you are surely considering your next move with great deliberation. After all, Mercedes already has a decent combination in Russell and Antonelli. And they're not really desperate to shake things up. Mercedes has won 6 times and 7 pole positions since 2022, 4 wins and 6 poles for Russell alone. He's proven himself to be one of the top talents on the grid. And with the car he requires beneath him, most believe he can be a world champion and restore Mercedes to dominance. But let's get real, Russell being matched against Verstappen isn't even fair fight. Max is in a league of his own, 65 victories, 4 titles, and accuracy and reliability under duress approaching the mechanical. That is why the Sardinia gathering may be the tipping point, the moment words turn to action. It is hard to imagine them just meeting to chat about the 2026 rules or speculate about whether next-generation racing cars would be Frankenstein cars, as Horner once called them. More likely, this was Toto presenting parts of the 2026 project to Max, much like how Lawrence Stroll once pitched Aston Martin's vision to Adrian Newey. And if we're being honest, I'd bet a lot of money Max liked what he saw. Even Verstappen's brother-in-law, Nelson Piquet Jr., has added fuel to the fire. In discussing the dire Mercedes weekend at Silverstone, Piquet Jr. did his best to steer clear of finger-pointing and, inadvertently, one might say, divulged more than he meant to. There are weekends when things don't go right for you, right? There's nothing you can do, he said. One of the Mercedes drivers, Antonelli, is a rookie and also got hit from behind by Isaac Hadjar. Anyway, it just wasn't Mercedes' weekend. Who knows? Maybe next year Max will be there. They are in talks. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. Tough talk. The only real obstacle until lately was opposition at Mercedes. The board of directors supposedly wasn't very enthusiastic about the idea of letting go of Russell just in order to sign Verstappen. It was against the company's values. But now, that is not true anymore. According to the latest updates, Mercedes CEO Ola Kalinius has sealed it off for Toto Wolff and the rest. The message is obvious. Go get Max Verstappen. Therefore, I don't really think that we'll need to do something else to turn this into a reality. But what does Mercedes have in their hands that Red Bull just cannot match from this point of view? At the end of the day, it's all about improvement and performance. It's not that Max is not satisfied with Red Bull in general, but he is not satisfied with the fact that they are not showing any sign of improvement at any given moment in the near term. The technical team led by Wash and Bao were way below the standards that were set by Adrian Newey. From being a 19 out of 23 race winning team to a team that is unable to even make the front row, a decline from grace that took place in the same technically regulated era, there is no logic to how Red Bull went so wrong. So, it being her sack could have made a difference of sense if it were not for Max. I don't think Red Bull would be a midfield team either. And I think Max understood that this is a sinking ship. So if he stays in the sport for a couple of years longer, then make no doubt that he wouldn't want to celebrate P5 and P6 finishes. But this is something Wolff should consider if he would sign up with Verstappen. The 4-time world champion has little motivation to hang around in the sport for too much longer. The nature of the sport is moving in a direction that he does not want it to move. Street circuits, lengthening calendars, and regulations that do not even make much sense. And to add to all of that, he had a baby. So family then naturally is a new priority to him. And this is actually a very difficult question for Toto Wolff. You have Russell, who came to your team from 2022 and remained with Williams for 3 years before he was finally promoted to the Silver Arrows. He is sort of your prototype. You've taken him as far as he is now, and you're going to leave him for a full-time world champion who won't be in the sport for an absolute eternity. A lot depends on this, but the momentum is currently in Verstappen's direction, and all would kill to have him drive for them. So, I'd wager Wolff's got a great speech lined up for Max short-term. Term, of course, wise, it makes a lot of sense. Verstappen will definitely deliver Mercedes championships, even if their engines aren't a mile faster in the new era. We've watched him win a title in the third quickest car with Red Bull previously, which hasn't occurred since the PK triumph back in 1983. But ultimately, does it look like a Mercedes? They've carefully picked their drivers and ensured they will have bountiful and long-lasting cooperation with them. And I don't believe the latter applies to Verstappen. But the Mercedes scenario may even make Max believe that there is hope for this sport. And at age 27, he already has 4 titles. Just think how much more he can add up with Mercedes if the Silver Arrows will indeed live up to what they promise starting 2026 onwards. Is there a possibility that Max and Russell are going to be teammates in Mercedes? It's a very thin line one, but there is definitely a possibility that this will be so. We might feel that Antonelli is too young and inexperienced to be racing in a championship at the age of 19 years old, even in his initial words of praise when he upgraded him into Hamilton's seat. Let us not forget that this was practically pushed upon them. Wolff's initial ambition was to put Antonelli into a team like Williams and follow the path Russell followed before being promoted to Mercedes, but things weren't feasible and Toto had to put Antonelli quite literally next to Russell. It wasn't that it was a bad move, but from 2026 onwards Mercedes will be receiving one extra customer team, Alpine. This will provide them with another seat in case Toto wants to put Russell up against Verstappen in the same car and then decide who Antonelli is going to sit in for when the time comes. The future is Kimi's. There is no doubt about this, and Wolff won't let him go for anything. But a slight change in the script would be good for everyone involved. Russell will have a chance to put his money where his mouth is, and Verstappen will actually be going to demonstrate that the success he's had with Red Bull can be replicated at Mercedes. It is always superior for a driver of this quality when you win championships with more than one team, and that still has not happened in the career of Max. With all that in mind, do you think Max Verstappen should leave Red Bull immediately and move to a team which is going to value the prime of his career and provide him with a car which can win championships and races? And if so, who do you think he will be replacing in Mercedes? Let us know in the comments below. And then, please do be sure to watch the video you are currently watching on your screen.